That's clever. Why have I never thought of that? What's the best freestyle setup you can get under 250 grams? I'm currently of the opinion that it's something like this GEPRC Smart35, a 3.5-inch freestyle quad that comes in just barely under 250 grams, as long as you don't have a GoPro. And if your focus is on freestyle fun, then maybe we have to give up a GoPro. We could have DJI. It's a pretty good DVR. But some people feel that 4 inches or even 5 inches is better, and that brings us to this, the Ummagawd 2Fiddy. This is a 5-inch quadcopter under 250 grams, and I am famously on record as saying that 5 inches under 250 grams is not even worth a second look. But can Tommy Tibahia, Ummagawd, change my mind about that? That is what we're here to find out today. I'm Joshua Bardwell, and you're going to learn something today. The GEPRC Smart35 that I'm reviewing in this video was sent to me by GEPRC. The Ummagawd 2Fiddy was purchased by me. I have not received any money or other compensation in exchange for this video, and no one has had any approval or preconditions on the contents of this video before it was released. We're going to fly the GEPRC Smart35 first because I reviewed it before, link in the video description to the full review of this quadcopter, and I kind of already know why I think this is the sweet spot under 250 grams. And then we'll fly the 2Fiddy, and we'll see if I'm wrong. You know I love it when I'm wrong. The first thing I always think about when I'm judging how a micro quadcopter flies is the concept of disc loading. And disc loading means the area of the props, all of the props together, divided by the weight of the quadcopter, or vice versa. So a lighter quadcopter with larger prop diameter is going to have a lower, lighter disc loading. And disc loading is one of the main things that determines how a quadcopter feels when it flies. A quadcopter with a lighter disc loading, the best example I can think of is like the first time you ever flew a toothpick. 3-inch props, very, very lightweight, 75, 80 grams, maybe 100 grams. And it just like, as soon as you touch the throttle, it's flying. And it's super twitchy and nervous. If you try and do a fling move where you punch throttle and drop throttle, it just immediately stops going. It doesn't have any fling. So the idea that a lighter quadcopter is better is not always true, because a quad with too low of a disc loading can be not very enjoyable to fly. The flip side, of course, is a quad with too high of a disc loading is not very enjoyable to fly. They're underpowered, they don't corner well, but they do have a lot of fling ability just because of their generally higher weight. So, what is the optimal disc loading? Well, it depends obviously on what you like. If we go back to a 5-inch quadcopter, some people love a 5-inch quadcopter in the 800 gram range, which in my opinion is way too heavy. Some people like it around 650, 700, maybe 600, so maybe even lighter. But my goal is to get something that has approximately a similar disc loading to the 5-inch freestyle quads I like to fly, around 700 to 750 grams. Now, if you actually do the math, you'll find that a 3.5-inch quad at 250 grams, the disc loading is actually a little bit lighter than a 5-inch quad. And if you, somewhere around 3.5 inches, 280 to 300 grams is actually more like the disc loading of a 5-inch quad. On the flip side, a 3-inch around 250 grams, the disc loading is getting up to the level that is closer to a 5-inch. So you might argue, and in fact, Aaron Ciotti has argued that a 3-inch is the ideal size for freestyle around 250 grams, and that's one of the reasons. But I disagree, because I think that the larger prop area of the 3.5-inch gives you back some of the flight time and some of the stability that makes like a 3-inch feel more like a micro, and a 3.5-inch feels just a little bit less like a micro and just a little bit more inch like a 4 or a 5-inch quad. What about going even larger? You can obviously build a 4-inch and a 5-inch, and maybe even a 6-inch, I don't know, under 250 grams. But where do you get that weight from? You have to give up something to get the weight down. The disc loading gets a lot lighter, which makes the quad, in my opinion, fly worse, but more fundamentally, you end up shaving away a ton of carbon from the frame and a ton of metal from the motors, and you end up compromising durability. So we're going to be evaluating two things when we evaluate the 2Fiddy after we get done flying the GEPRC Smart35. The first is, how does it feel to fly? How does the objectively lighter disc loading manifest itself with the motors and the props and so forth? And number two, has Tommy managed to keep the durability of the 2Fiddy up while shaving the weight under 250 grams? Before we answer that question though, let's go inside and let's take a look at both of these guys on the bench to have a better idea of what they're like. The Ummagawd 2Fiddy has 2004 sized motors. It doesn't say that anywhere on them, but they are 2004 Aerolite motors. 2004 is a fantastic motor size for lightweight 4-inch freestyle. Not for long-range cruisers. They tend to use smaller motors, but like 1404. But it's great for 4-inch freestyle, and presumably it's also going to be really good for 5-inch. Although it's a larger prop, we also have a much lighter quad than is usually seen, like my Caddx Machine Works Shocker, which comes in around 360. It's almost like 100 grams more than this. So it's larger prop, but lighter quad, and so it's probably going to be a pretty good performing motor. A little difficult to see here, but the flight controller is the iFlight Beast H7, and F7. I think it's the F7. The iFlight Beast F7 is an all-in-one flight controller and ESC, and that should raise questions in your mind about the durability. There's no question that a flight controller and ESC like that is no good for like a full weight 5-inch. But for a little 250 gram 5-inch like this, I think there's no question that it's going to be as durable as anything else you might choose. Now this bind and fly version does come with DJI, although it can be built with analog. We've got the Vista video transmitter, and the camera is the Nebula Nano Pro. I don't know how they got these, but holy cow. These are some of the only Nebula Nano Pros I've seen in stock in the last like 3 months, so snap it up. As far as the frame goes, if anybody could build a sub-250 5-inch frame that's worth a damn, it's going to be Tommy Tibahia. And we can see a lot of inspiration from his Remix frame. In fact, this is kind of like a Remix, but with the arms moved down or maybe flipped over upside down. The arms are very thin, as you would expect to try to save weight. The arms go into the main body and are held in with 2 screws. No fancy linkages or anything like that, just 2 screws. You can see they do come together. Well, you may not be able to see, but they do come together in the center, so they do brace against each other a little bit. If those screws come loose, the arms will start to get loose, as you might expect, so you're going to want to stay on top of that. The camera cage mounts into the front with just basically a friction fit. There's no screw or anything holding it in there. Just as the whole frame comes together, it just sort of compresses it on there, and it certainly will be an interesting question to see how that holds up to the flight testing. The GEPRC Smart35, on the other hand, has a much simpler and more utilitarian frame design. Obviously, there's a little bit of elegance here with some swoops, and there's even some, looks like there's been some beveling on the frame. So that, you know, it's not that it's bad quality, but it's just one solid bottom plate, so the arms aren't going to get loose. And then you've got a camera mounted between 2 side plates, mounted between a top and a bottom plate. Frame design as old as time. The motors are 1404 3850kV. 1404 motors I first encountered in the 4-inch lightweight cruiser category, and I felt that they were a little bit small for a 4-inch prop to do freestyle, but okay for cruising. On a 3.5-inch prop, they do get the job done, but I think a lot of people would prefer a little bit bigger motor, just to get a little bit more torque out of these props. And some people would say that these motors are actually pretty well sized for 3-inch. That being said, we need to stay under 250 grams, and it feels like they get the job done. Just like the Ummagawd 2Fiddy, GEPRC ships the Smart35 with an all-in-one flight controller and ESC. This one is an F4 processor, not an F7, so you're going to be a little bit more limited in what spare UARTs you have if you want to add accessories like a GPS or other UART-based accessories, but if you just want to fly it as delivered, obviously it's going to be fine. And like a lot of quadcopters that are coming out today, GEPRC is shipping this with the Caddx Polar camera. My opinion right now is that the Caddx Polar is the best DJI camera you can actually find in stock. When I first reviewed the Polar, I did make some complaints about the latency, but after getting RC Shim to check the Polar's latency and after retesting a Polar that was sent to me, I concluded that there was something wrong with my camera and that there is nothing fundamentally wrong with the Polar itself in terms of latency. It's still a 60 FPS camera and it's still going to have 35-ish millisecond latency instead of the 25-ish millisecond latency of the 120 FPS cameras, but that's acceptable if you want to fly DJI today, and I would rather have the image quality of the Polar with slightly higher latency than the image quality of nothing else, because nothing else is in stock, so it doesn't really matter. All right, well, it's time to put this guy in the air, and I got to tell you, I'm pretty excited. I've flown a couple sub-250g 5 inches before. It was before 2004 motors really got into their own, which I think is a great size motor for this style of prop. And of course, this whole frame design didn't exist. For the record, we are flying with a 6S 380 milliamp hour battery. This is the one Ummagawd recommends to get under 250 grams. Those of you who are paying attention may have noticed that these are 2400 kV motors, which are 4S motors. They are shipping this quad. This is the bind and fly version from Race Day Quads. They're shipping it with 2400 kV motors and a 69% motor limit, which I presume is because I think they just are out of the 6S motors, so they're trying to make some hay. But we're going to be flying it on 6S with a motor output limit. Okay, let's do it. Oh, it takes off super low in the throttle. There's that disc loading we were talking about. And it's got the actual Nebula Pro, which is not the GEPRC's fault, but it's actually got the low latency. Oh my God, it's so much better. 28 milliseconds. It's faster. I don't think that's just the up tilt. I have managed the up tilt. Oh, this feels like a 5-inch. Yes, friend. It feels like a 5-inch. I'm not going to do any gap shooting. I'm just going to feel out how it feels. Oh, yes. Oh. Screw disc loading. What about just power and responsiveness? That's good flingability too. Oh, it's moving through the environment. It's just getting from point A to point B in a way that a 3-inch does not. Fling! It is working harder, like the battery is struggling. We got it's like 6-7 minutes, I don't know, of flight out of the Smart35. This one is starting to hit 3.5 volts per cell just on these little throttle punches. The same, similar weight, similar size battery in terms of grams of weight. It's going to have to work harder to spin a 5-inch prop. That's just a fact. It feels way more authoritative in the corners. Now that's the lighter disc loading for sure. Oh, we're already hit. Oh. Okay. 20 volts. Yeah, we're already down near the end of the battery. Doesn't sound like I messed up a prop. Oh, this is way more fun. Jeez. Oh, it changes direction so quickly. Almost hit the ground there. Still up. Props look, oh, got a little buzz. Let's check it out. So yeah, it's definitely still got that feel where you're really low in the throttle when you hit the hover point. Let's not put it in a tree, Bardwell. But boy, it can corner like nobody's business. Oh, see, a save like that would have been challenging on a 3.5 inch, wouldn't it? Oh, hey, what are we doing? We still flying? Okay. What was that? I don't know what I hit. It flew so good. All this time, I've been flying micros. Well, micros, 2.5, 2, 3, 3.5. And each time I've flown one, I've thought, oh, it flies a little more like a big quad. But my favorite, not a 5-inch quad to date, has been the 4-inch Caddx Machine Works Shocker, which is not under 250 grams. And this whole time I'm trying to get back to 5 inches. But every 5-inch I've flown, every sub-250 5-inch I've flown has been bad. It has flown worse and lacked durability. And this one flew, it didn't fly like a 700 gram 5-inch, obviously, but holy cow, flying back to back with the 3.5-inch GEPRC Smart35, very compelling. How about the durability? Now, obviously, I did not fly this in like a concrete bando parking garage. I always say that when I talk about durability testing. I have grass and trees. It's not the most stressful thing. So if it didn't survive this test, then that's not a good sign. In addition, this is actually the giveaway prize for my new product roundup and giveaway this month. Every month I do a roundup with It's Plenty where we sit down and look at the new products that have come out this month, and then I do a giveaway. So you've probably missed this one, but make sure you're subscribed and keep an eye out around, I was going to say the beginning of the month, but this one came out on like the 22nd. So sometimes I don't do it at the beginning of the month, but that's okay. Anyway, I didn't want to destroy the giveaway item because then I'd have to build a new one. But it came out pretty well. We've got a busted zip tie here. Yeah, it's not the end of the world. We lost a screw in one of the motors. Yeah, here. Now, I know you're going to go down to the comments and say, I always tighten the screws on a bind and fly. I did. Thank you. It just shook loose and came out. Might want to think about maybe some blue Loctite on those. How about the arms? The arms are, we got a little wiggle in the arms. We probably could tighten those down again. We'll see how tight they are. All of the other screws are still present. Well, we got a little wiggle on the front end here. Let's go around it and tighten down all the screws and see if that fixes any of this. Oh yeah. Yeah, those have loosened up too. So we're definitely going to be tightening these down. Like, it'd be a good idea to tighten them down maybe at the beginning of every flight day. Maybe after the first day, you know, the first 2 or 3 times you fly, they'll sort of shake themselves out and be done loosening up. I don't know. Flight control stack is fine. The flight control stack has rubber little gummies that are helping keep things tight. Well, that's clever. Why have I never thought of that? Look how he's mounted the Vista. He's taken the zip ties and put them through the screw holes. So you don't have the weight and complexity of screws but it doesn't go on the outside and like break this button off, which is always something I've worried about. That's the smartest thing I've ever seen. Now it's all tightened down. Let's see. Now, see, we still got a little wiggle in the camera cage. I don't know if it's come loose from an impact or if it's just the way it attaches has a little give. I don't know if that'll ever freaking matter. But I would be really curious to know if it was like that when I first got it. Unfortunately, there's no way to rewind time. And this little, it's got a little cutout here to hold the antenna in place, and this zip tie has slipped down and has let that come out of whack. It just seems like that's pretty much inevitable. Maybe it would be good if we put the zip tie like around the top to keep it up, or just hold it in place. Anyway. Meanwhile, the GEPRC Smart35 is essentially untouched. And there are some things we could nitpick about the way that the Smart35 is built. For example, it does, no, we're losing a screw. Okay, not completely untouched. We are losing a screw. Fair enough. One screw came loose. We could nitpick some things about the GEPRC Smart35, like the fact that it has M2 hardware instead of M3 hardware. We could also debate whether that matters on a quadcopter of this size and weight. But the bottom line is that taking the same amount of weight, 250 grams, and compressing it into a smaller package, 3.5 inches, is going to improve your durability. You're going to have more carbon fiber for the frame. You're going to have more just mass to put into the motors. And you're going to have to make less compromises to get the rest of the stuff that you want to get. And I say that not just having flown this specific Smart35 for like 3 packs for this review, but also, remember, I got the Smart35 previously and test flew it and just beat the dickens out of it. It's just a more robust design. Single bottom plate, camera, standoff. There's just not that much to go wrong with it. And it's just going to be more durable. So that brings us to the end of the video. And as always, the question, which one should you get? And I am really struggling to say what the answer to that is. Like, I really like flying the Smart35. I think it's the best flying, well, maybe not the Smart35 specifically, although it is very good. I think that the 3.5 inch platform is the best choice for sub-250 freestyle. Maybe 3 inch if you like a little higher disc loading like Ciati does. But it's really freaking good. But the minute I flew the 2Fiddy, it knocked my socks off with how much better it is. And the question is only whether you care more about the durability of the 3.5 inch platform, or if you would rather deal with a little bit of lack of durability in the 5 inch to get a much, much better flight experience. And that continues to be true even if you give up the 250 gram limit a little bit, and maybe you're going to put like a naked GoPro or an Insta360 Go on here. I think if you do that, both of these guys can carry it, and the same differences are going to be true. Although if you're giving up the 250 gram limit, I think 4 inch, like the Shocker 4, is actually a really, really great place to be. Even better performance. Whichever of these you prefer, there are links down in the video description to places where you can buy them. You can buy the GEPRC Smart35 with Caddx Polar right now. It is in stock at the time that I was recording this. And the bind and fly version of the Ummagawd 2Fiddy is available in stock at Race Day Quads, or Ummagawd sells a kit that you can buy where you can build it yourself if you prefer. Those are affiliate links. What that means is that when you click that link and then make any purchase, I get a small commission. I get a little percentage of the purchase. It's an easy way for you to support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything additional. Just click the link, go do your shopping. You can buy anything, not just the linked item, anything. Just click the affiliate link, do your shopping, check out, and I get a small commission. It does mean a lot. I may be changing my mind. I have changed my mind. Sub 250 5 inch. There is at least one out there that is worth flying. But given how bad the previous ones have been, that's not a very high bar. Not to take anything away from Tommy. Kudos to him for coming up with this. This is really good. Still don't know if it's worth the trade-off in terms of durability, but it's really good. Thanks so much for watching. Happy flying. What are you doing in here? The least you could do is subscribe or join my Patreon or like just here's another video I picked out for you. Jeez.